She loved him more than herself, and she never realized when love slowly turned into sacrifice. Her name was Ayla, a girl who believed that loving deeply was a strength, not a weakness. She gave her heart so freely that she forgot to protect it. Ayla met Daniel during a phase when she was still discovering her own worth. Daniel was focused on his dreams and goals, while Ayla was focused on him. From the beginning, she chose him, even when he never chose her the same way. She adjusted her life according to his needs and convinced herself that this was what love looked like. She ignored her exhaustion and called it patience. She ignored her pain and called it understanding. Daniel enjoyed her presence, but never questioned her silence. He accepted her sacrifices without realizing their cost. For him, her love was comfort, not responsibility. Ayla listened when he spoke and waited when he disappeared. She smiled during conversations and cried alone afterward. Slowly, her world began revolving around someone who barely noticed. She stopped sharing her feelings because they were often dismissed. She stopped asking questions because answers hurt more than silence. She stopped expecting because disappointment became routine. Her friends noticed the change in her eyes and the heaviness in her voice. They warned her gently, but Ayla defended him every time. She believed loyalty meant staying even when it hurt. At night, she lay awake replaying conversations in her mind. She wondered if loving less would make things easier. She wondered why loving more was making her feel so empty. One day, while looking into the mirror, she felt unfamiliar with her own reflection. The girl staring back looked tired, quieter, and smaller. That moment made her question everything she had been avoiding. She asked herself, when she had last chosen her own happiness. The answer frightened her because she couldn't remember. For the first time, love didn't feel beautiful. It felt heavy. The question stayed with her long after that night. It followed her into conversations, silences, and moments when she felt invisible. Ayla realized she had been present everywhere, except in her own life. She began noticing how often her needs came last. She noticed how quickly she forgave and how rarely she was understood. Awareness hurt, but it also opened her eyes. Daniel still lived his routine without change. He texted when convenient and disappeared when busy. Ayla slowly understood that consistency should not feel like a favor. One evening, she tried to explain her feelings with a trembling voice. Daniel listened but didn't truly hear her. He called it sensitivity, not pain. That word broke something inside her. She finally saw how easily her emotions were minimized. Love should never make you feel weak for feeling. For the first time, Ayla chose silence not to protect him but to protect herself. She stopped explaining and started observing. In that quiet space, clarity found her. She noticed how peaceful her mind felt when she wasn't waiting. She noticed how her breath felt lighter without constant anxiety. Distance revealed truths closeness had hidden. Daniel sensed the change, but didn't understand it. He asked fewer questions and assumed everything was fine. He didn't realize silence can be louder than words. Ayla began doing small things for herself again. She revisited old dreams and forgotten hobbies. With every step, she felt herself returning. She understood that loving someone should not mean abandoning yourself. Love should add to your life, not drain it. That realization became her turning point. One morning, she chose honesty over fear. She told Daniel what she needed, calmly and clearly. His reaction told her everything she needed to know. He wasn't cruel, just unwilling to change. He cared, but not enough to grow. And for the first time, that wasn't enough for her. Ayla walked away with a heavy heart, but a clear mind. She cried, but she didn't beg. She finally chose herself. The days after she left were quiet, but strangely calm. Ayla felt the pain, yet it no longer controlled her. Healing didn't arrive suddenly, but it started honestly. She missed him sometimes, but she missed herself more. She reminded herself why she had walked away. Self-respect slowly replaced self-doubt. Daniel noticed the absence when his messages went unanswered. The comfort he took for granted was suddenly gone. Silence made him uneasy. He tried reaching out casually at first. When that failed, his messages became longer and more emotional. For the first time, he felt what she had felt for so long. Ayla read his words without rushing to respond. She noticed how differently they sounded now. Distance had taught her what closeness never did. Daniel began realizing how much she had given. He remembered her patience, her understanding, her quiet sacrifices. Regret arrived late, but it arrived deeply. He thought love would always wait for him. He never imagined it could walk away. Losing her presence forced him to confront his neglect. Ayla, meanwhile, was rebuilding herself piece by piece. She learned to sit with her emotions instead of escaping them. Strength grew where pain once lived. She found joy in small routines and peace, in solitude. She no longer needed validation to feel whole. Her confidence returned naturally. When Daniel finally asked to meet, she agreed without expectation. They sat across from each other, calmer and different. Time had changed them both. He apologized sincerely and admitted his mistakes. He spoke of growth and regret. Ayla listened with compassion but without longing. She realized she no longer needed an apology to heal. Closure had already happened within her. His words didn't shake her anymore. Ayla wished him well and walked away again. This time, there was no sadness, only relief and quiet strength. She understood that loving someone deeply is beautiful, but loving yourself is necessary. And she would never forget that lesson. Time moved forward, and with it, Ayla's life began to take a new shape. The emptiness she once feared slowly turned into space for growth. She realized healing was not about forgetting, but about understanding. She started setting boundaries without feeling guilty. Saying no longer scared her. Respecting herself became her new language. People around her noticed the change. Her smile looked lighter and her voice steadier. She was no longer shrinking to fit into someone else's world. Ayla learned that love should feel safe, not confusing. It should bring peace, not constant questions. This clarity changed how she saw relationships forever. She invested her energy into her dreams again. The passion she had once paused began to return. Purpose gave her a confidence love never had. Occasionally, memories surfaced without warning, but they no longer hurt the same way. They reminded her of how far she had come. Daniel watched her from a distance, understanding too late. He saw strength where he once saw softness. He finally recognized the value he had lost. But Ayla did not turn back. She had learned that growth often requires leaving behind familiar pain. Choosing herself had changed her life. She became an example without trying to be one. Her journey spoke quietly to those who were listening. Strength does not always announce itself. Ayla understood that love is not about losing yourself. It is about becoming more of who you are. And this Uchimi shelf again, the lesson Ayla carried forward stayed with her every day. She reminded herself that love should never demand self-erasure. Growth, she learned, begins when you stop settling. She became more careful with her heart, but never closed it. Kindness remained part of her nature, not her weakness. This time, it was balanced with self-respect. Ayla learned to recognize effort instead of excuses. She understood that real love shows up consistently. Words without action no longer impressed her. Her journey taught her that loneliness with self-worth is better than togetherness with pain. Peace became her priority, not attachment. That choice changed everything. She stopped chasing validation and started attracting alignment. The right people felt calm, not confusing. Love began to feel lighter in her presence. Ayla finally understood that loving deeply is a gift. But that gift must be given to someone who values it. Otherwise, it slowly destroys the giver. She no longer feared walking away from what hurt her. Courage replaced her old fear of abandonment. Strength grew quietly inside her. Looking back, she didn't regret loving him. She regretted forgetting herself for so long. That realization became her greatest teacher. Her story wasn't about heartbreak anymore. It was about transformation. Pain had shaped her, but it did not define her. In the end, Ayla didn't lose love. She found herself. And that was the most powerful ending she could have ever chosen.